So it's a somewhat sunny day here in Binghamton, New York. And actually, we've had quite a mild summer. And I don't know why I'm getting all these dings. Turn them off, Yvonne. I'm sorry. But it's great. And whatever happens, it's great. The weather is the weather, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you just got to say, if it's raining, to put my raincoat on. But we're lucky that today it's rather sunny here in Binghamton. This is Yvonne DeVita from Master Book Builders, and you're listening to Smart Conversations. Today, I have an outstanding guest, Michael Coleman. And Michael comes to us with over 30 years in radio and TV doing advertising and marketing. And that's what we're going to talk about today, marketing. He's written 2 books. And okay, I have to say, we are the people he helped, or that helped him write those 2 books. The first book is A Better Message in a Message, Audio Optometry, where he teaches people how to sound tall, if you can do that. And I will share the next book, which is The Future of Messaging, which is the second in this series that he's been writing on the blog post when I write it. But right now, Michael, I want to welcome you to the show.
It's great to be here, Yvonne. Thank you very much.
We have been working together now for several months. Lots of time, yeah.
About a year now.
Yeah. And one of the things that really made me so happy that we got to work together is the kind of writing that you do in your books. So when you did, and this used to be a different title, folks, we retitled it and we did the inside different and all of that. But A Better Message in a Message, and when you talk about audio optometry, what does that mean?
Audio optometry is basically helping people see better with their ears. Here's the whole thing in a nutshell. Every day I see and I hear broadcast squander. What they are, they're impotent declarations, just contaminating the airwaves with junk. Everyone's bloviating about how great they are. They're pounding their chest about how they're number one and how they can beat the competition. And they're all racing down the same road at the same pace, elbowing each other. And so what do you see when you look at that sea of humanity running down the street? You're not going to pick anyone out. You just see them as a mass, as a jumble of nothingness, really, because how many, I can ask you right now, give me a list of every ad, every, not just advertisement or marketing message, just communication. When people talk, what are they talking about? You're talking a lot. They're not saying anything. They're just blathering on. And we unconsciously shut that out. So now people who have a business are going to pay good money, airtime to get that business out there. What happens? Well, now they're in this cauldron, like we're in its cauldron right now. Our assumption is that everyone is going to listen to us. Everyone's going to hear every single word that we spew out. Only a few here or that, there are going to get collected upon. And I honestly believe that people, they're just drunk from misused words and phrases, what I call ad speak. I didn't coin that phrase. It was coined about maybe close to 30 years ago. An advertising executive in New York, but people saying the same stuff.
Yeah.
How are people going to, well, what's the use then? Why should I even say? You're saying the wrong things. You're not targeting to the right people. You're saying too much. You're putting too much into 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag, so to speak. And you really, now it's social media people have, it's a great platform. We have multiple platforms that are free as a cost thing to say what's on your mind. And look, I have that. We all have that problem. It's quick images, 5, 6, 7 seconds. We've all developed media-induced ADD now, where it's what's your point? Get to your point. Hurry up, be quick about it. And then we move on to the next thing. It's the way society is. It's not going to get better. So this is what this is about, is creating a better message in this. This is what we live in. We live in a mess age.
Yeah, I have to agree 100%. And that's why I love the book. I'm going to read a little bit here from the introduction because I feel like this is really important. So in the book, everyone, Michael says, I didn't want to write this book. I felt the need to. I've spent the past 4 decades creating effective messaging for all types of organizations and individuals, but I am also a listener, a potential customer, and I'm disheartened. People do not listen anymore. They don't fully pay attention. It's not entirely their fault. As part of living in a noisy and complicated world, they've either been lured or driven away from total awareness. I mean, that really strikes me as so true. So many people say they wrote the book because they had to, but I see behind you have a lot of awards that have come your way from the work that you've done. And what's different now from 20, 25 years ago? What do you see that how messaging has changed?
Well, it's what I briefly mentioned here. I mean, the internet comes in, where we're being, look, every day we unknowingly are exposed to anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 advertising, marketing, and advertising messages a day. Now that includes a truck going by with its logo on the side, whether it's a Budweiser delivery truck, anything from there to a plumbing and heating supply van, to going online. As soon as you go in, you're reading an article on a news outlet, all these banners that pop up. We don't focus, we don't stop and read everything about those. They just come in as flashing images. Right. The next one will come by. They tally up. Right now, look around your room, whoever is watching, whoever's listening to this. When you just study around the room, there are logos, there are brands in that room, on your clothing. We see this and hear this every day. But really what it is, and slowly they just become a part of our lifestyle. But everything that I've written here doesn't come down to advertising. It's really not about just advertising or just marketing. It's about the messages that we create within those. Now, this also includes speaking in public, speaking on a Zoom call. Oh. How many times are we sitting in a Zoom meeting with 5, 6, 7 or more people and just listening to this blather? What's he talking about? Shut up and get to the point. This is it. This is all part of this. We can listen to something or read a speech during the mid 1800s. How prolific these people wrote back then, because they took the time. They had time to sit down and pen a letter. I'll type it out. Well, let's go to AI now. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's talk about AI. I was going to ask about AI. I mean, it's slowly crept up on us, and suddenly it seems to me in the last month, AI has taken over everyone's content and is front and center the topic that everyone's talking about. So why do we need a better message and a best message? Why don't we just go to AI for all of our content?
Well, I've experimented with chatbots, ChatGPT, in the last few weeks, and if, let's say, I'm creating an ad for someone, and I'll see what they have to say about it. And what they do is they grab the algorithms, they grab everything that's said about this business in the past or what they've created in their own ads in the past. And I'll save that, I'll print it, look at it, highlight certain keywords in it. Now I'll do this with client B. Let's say client A is a car dealership. Client B is give me a business. Could be your business.
A restaurant.
A restaurant, okay. Friendly, courteous service for all your eating needs, for all your, this is the ad speak that I was just briefly talking about. All of these standard colloquialisms, these phrases that pop up that just, they fly by. Do they do anything for us? Because everyone is saying it. But it's like saying the word, just a couch, saying couch. What does that mean? Well, it's something you sit on that's comfortable. Does it mean anything? No, it's just part of the lexicon now.
Right.
But does it cut through to one important thing? These are words that that everyone wants to say and talk about themselves. So what do? They spew out a visual or an audio resume telling about what they can do. And and this is the key word here, there's no emotion. There's no feeling behind it. And that's what your message has to make me feel something. And how am I going to do that?
There has to be a story and not just a report. And it seems to me that's what they deliver. They deliver a report, and you can take and use pieces of it if you want. But I love that you talked about the way people wrote years and years ago in the 18th century, even in the 19th century. They used words that you don't hear today, words that I hear coming out of your mouth right now, that everyone has more or less allowed themselves to be dumbed down to just a small vocabulary because that's all they want to hear. Is that
what was our vocabulary? Or not our vocabulary, what were people's vocabularies in the 17th century, 18th, 19th, coming here? And now, and again, everything is done for us. Once television came on the scene, everything went way down. You could hear a speech that was given on the radio 100 years ago or 50 years ago, Franklin Roosevelt. These people spoke well. Then you have a few of our politicians. I'm not going to get into that, but where do these people get their education? Where do they learn to speak? And I'm not just talking about ums and ahs and and it's like, and any of those things that are thrown in.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear you. I'm on a mission to make people write better, which I think if you write well, then you will speak well, and that's a lot of what we want to happen. So, your new book, which is,
well, let me say one more thing about technology. Sorry to interrupt you. It's great. Technology is great. It's going to expedite the process. It's going to make things quicker and easier for you. So where people say, oh, so don't use ChatGPT. No, use it. Use it as an outline. There's a lot of kids are using this in their term papers and their reports, their homework, or whatnot. But that's plagiarism. Don't go right into it. Look at it, read it. Now, take out from there and say, what's the real important issue of this? And the one analogy of look, a machine can rhyme, but can it create poetry? Can it create something that's going to strike you in the heart and make you feel, make you laugh, make you cry? This is where emotions come in key. That's what communication is about.
I think to the point of AI, we have to remember that nothing they deliver is original, that it's a tool. It's going all across the internet and grabbing other people's content. There are now lawsuits popping up from people who have seen their content being used that they did not give approval for, and they own the copyright too. So that will be very interesting to see what happens with those court cases when they come up. But moving on to your next book, which everyone will be coming out in the next few months. We're still finalizing some things with it, but we will announce the launch. You will see us talking about it on LinkedIn. So connect with Michael Coleman on LinkedIn and Yvonne DeVita. the new book is called The Future of Messaging. And it ties into AI, but it also ties into the fact of what you're talking about, that we have lost the ability to communicate well unless, in my opinion, unless we learn to write well. So talk a little bit about that and about writing the book itself. How did you just sit down and there you are at your keyboard and you wrote it and you're done? And because you do talk in the book about the messaging, you do talk about the need for people to be more original and build relationships. So give us a little bit of your insight into that.
Well, the future is about technology. If you were to sit down and write or create a thought, people, well, what should I do? People will ask me, what should I do if I want to do this or do, well, my clients, if I want to, because what I'll do is teach them. It's like, you can hire me to do your marketing and your ads and all of that. I find it better because, I'm 63 now, and I'd like to be able to, when I sat down with them before, I gave them what was called the Mikey talk. And I educated them on, number one, because at the time it was radio, if their act was visual, I said, before you do anything, because no offense, your car dealership is really no different from the local bread store. You're selling a product or you're selling a service. And a lot of times you could create this template of an ad with just an underline and insert your name right there if you wanted to. But so the connection, it has to start with that connection. I talk about, well, and here's another key word here. It's empathy. Empathy has to be used in communication. What do you mean by empathy? Well, it's about seeing through another person's eyes, listening with their ears, and feeling above all with their hearts. And it's empathy is much more than about telling customers who you are. But when I use the word customer, I mean everyone. I don't mean someone who's looking to buy something from you right now. In everyone who's listening to this, including yourself, you're my customer. Because I am selling an idea. Whether I'm selling and I'm looking for, I don't like that word, because this is what everyone does when they look at advertising. They use that word selling. Well, I'm selling a product. No, you're not. You're offering a service, or you're offering something that's going to make their life better. So just tell me about it. And, I could stick the book in the Facebook, buy the book and find the answers and do all of this, and without giving any information behind it. It's really that key information to say, that's interesting. That's not for me, but that's for someone that I know.
Right.
Look at this way. You're at a reunion, you're at a party, you're at some friend's house, you're at a cookout, everyone's gathered around. And usually what are those questions? The same questions. So what do you do? Where do you, where did you go to school? And they're trying, when they do that, it's either A, judgment. Some people, we all judge. I think we're the only animals on the planet that do. Well, maybe a house cat does. I think the way they look at it sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but it's other to find connections, to find common bonds. We are neurobiologically hardwired to connect with one another. So a big question in my area, I grew up in the Boston area. People say, what's the saying over there? It's like, it's not park the car in the Harvard yard and all that. It's, where are you from? That's a big question. So where are you from? I was like, I grew up in this town, but then I moved over there. And the reason why they ask that is to say, oh, do you know Joey Fitzolari? Do you know Donna McGowan? Do you know these people? Oh, I went to high school with this. Boom. Now you find those connections. That's a big Boston, New York, Philadelphia, the Northeast. And I don't want to segment other states, but this is a very, very family-based area in New England. You grow up, there's a lot of schools here. You go here, people come from New York. I went to school with a lot of people from Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. They come up here and they say, and they live here. They stay here afterwards. Why? I said, there's a lot, maybe it's roots. I don't know what the word is, but they said there's a lot of social connection. People don't BS here. You can't. They pick out the liars really quick around here. A lot of humor. It is educated in that sense, right? You go out to California, not to put them down, but in transient communities where people come and go and they move around. It's not, if they're not deep rooted. You have your network of friends, you have your family, which is that concrete foundation anyways. And I found out that people who don't have that don't really have that soul connection. A lot of soul connection. I know there is in my life, and you have that as well with your family and your friends. You have those things that, is it a comfort zone? It's like, and as we get older, we'll notice that, that large network of people that we have, slowly they'll die. These people are a little toxic and I'm a little going to move away from them, or these people. No, these are and you have that core relationship where you have with people. Well, you know what? That's no different from having any business. That's no different from having any service. It's really that straight connection, that soul connection.
How is it related to the future of messaging?
That is something that we're losing because we're going out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, name the next, and tomorrow, there'll be another one.
Yeah, the new one launched today, Threads from Meta, from Facebook. Okay.
The way I look at it is a person standing on the roof of their building with a bullhorn. And what are they going to say? When you want to talk about, you just want to commerce, you want to sell yourself, you want to sell what you do, you want to get name recognition and going, hey, I'm here.
Why be the authority?
And a lot of times they're not. I think the future of messaging, look, beyond technology, it's going to be there. It's never going to go away. And it's great. It's just like it was, 1921 when radio came in. Radio came on board. Wow. Now, how long has the internet been going on now? It's 25 years. I mean, where it's, everyone is known. We weren't born into it. Our next generation, they're born into this thing. So they spend, and no matter where you are, I still take the train when I go in. I don't mind going in to, it's easier because in Boston, it's impossible to find a parking spot. Just get on the T. And well, when I'm on that train, here's what I see: everyone on their phones is just down.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I look around, and the only people out of a car, let's say, I don't know, let's say there's maybe 50 people on that car. I'd say about a good 45 people are on their phones. They'll have their earbuds and their head is down. So now they're insular. They're just looking in their own world. The same thing is when we're commuting. How many people do you know who have ever carpooled? I never did. I never wanted to. Maybe I did when I was going to college, just to get through the HOV lane or something, or to give a friend a ride or whatnot. But now, look what our cars are. There are living rooms. We have everything: the seat, the air conditioning, the heater. Everything is designed for us as we drive, and we don't want anyone cutting us off, our living rooms off. And that's where it is. So now all of our presets, we don't even listen to the radio. If we do, we have our own specialized. Everything is designed for what we want right there.
Well, how does that affect the marketing and sales? How do people then get their business noticed?
Well, these are, like I said, these are vehicles, but you have to cut through that clutter of everyone else talking about what they can do, what we're going to do. Audio resumes, just once again, it comes down to the message that you could have a Lamborghini Aventador and the greatest vehicle on the planet, but you're still sitting in a traffic jam. You're not going to get to your destination unless you know the map, you know how to cut around this area, you know what times to go, and there's your creativity. And this is all. It's not going to change 50 years from now. I mean, unless there's more, this
Well,
inner ear plants and what we have. Like I said, technology is technology, but it still comes down to the individual. You can surround yourself with all the accoutrements of technology, but now we're still going to try to find out closer, what's in Yvonne's heart, what's in her soul. Can I connect with that? Can I connect with he, she, them, they, whoever this person is? That's what we do. We look for those connections, and then otherwise, I mean, there are products that's like, look, you have a need. You need this. Okay, well, here it is. And you see those all the time. They'll be on whatever advertisements. But are they, I'd say, out of advertisements, out of marketing that's out there, most of it's misguided, because they working off assumptions rather than really getting into the empathy of the minds and the hearts of the people that they want to connect with. And once they sell with them, are they going to hang on to that connection? Is that going to stay true? Do you remember days before supermarkets? We don't, because people don't anymore, because we've grown up into the supermarkets. In the future of messaging, I think there's one part empathy that I talk about. I speak about when I was a young boy in the 60s. Now, figure out how old is he now? So I'm 63. I would visit my grandparents, and my grandfather would go off to work. I would go on the bus with my grandmother down to it was in Somerville, Massachusetts, down to the local square. And she went to the meat market first, where they knew her name. They knew, how's your husband? Who's this guy? It's like, oh, that's my grandson. Well, how's your daughter doing? And all. They knew everything about everybody. Went to the next place, went to the fish market, or went to the drugstore, the apothecary. Knew everything about everybody, and there was that soul connection. Yes, they had no choice. They couldn't.
They didn't have a supermarket.
There weren't cars as much back then, and that generation, they didn't drive. So, in some sense, we have to adapt that, and it came down to empathy and feeling. How are we going to connect with those and keep those people there?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that is being done. It's just a big billboard with a lot of information as you drive by, saying that was just a jumble of words. Nothing connected with me right there.
Yeah. Well, you also talk about story and telling a story, and I'm big on that. What I see is a lot of people thinking they're telling a story, when really they're just spewing out a bunch of facts and trying to put it in a pretty picture. And they think that that's going to dress it up and make it a story. When I'm doing let's say, some kind of marketing for my business, Master Book Builders, for instance, how would I create the story that's going to be both short enough and focused on the relationship building, and get it out in front of the right people? How do I do that?
A lot of this, well, you have to research. There is a lot of research involved here. Sometimes it's easier. I mean, you can hire these groups that are going to help you through their algorithms and find out specific. The bigger companies do that all the time. But there's nothing like a questionnaire when people come in or they want to know about you. They say, how'd you hear about us? It's just one simple question. So how'd you hear about us? And you get to study the market, study people's buying habits. Just look at society. Read. Go on.
Read. Everyone, you heard him say read.
Read. I mean, it's there. It's not, oh, it's fake news. It's this and that. No, it's, I'll talk about that in one aspect. It's like, if you think everything is fake out there, then you're only looking at one outlet. You're only looking at as a community, or you're sitting in a crowded room and you hear that the world is flat. Well, that's because Doris in the corner, who maybe Miss Cruz is saying that the world is flat. Well, did you hear what Doris says? It's called asking around, looking at multiple sources, and figuring out. The conspiracies are usually built by, 2 or 3 people, 1 or 2 sources. And then you have to look at the evidence. by people with closed minds in there. It's, I need to hear a valid reason from you when I meet someone, and we all do. We need to find a valid reason. We need to look for that, to saying, wow, this person is interesting. I'm now intrigued. Tell me more. I want to know more about your story. And that's a big thing. When people come in, well, so what do you do? I usually ask them, tell me your story. My what? My story. And usually what they do is they don't know how to go about that. So, well, I grew up here and I'm from this and from that. It's like, tell me what you love. Tell me what makes you smile. What makes you happy? What do you look forward to do? And a lot of them, because, well, I work here and I don't like my job and my boss is, it's not your story. I want to know about you. I want to know about what makes you happy. What makes you wake up and look forward to tomorrow? And everyone has that. And that's what we need to tap into. And yeah, business, and like I said, it's not just designed for businesses. These are for individuals alone. It's just
right. So we're getting to the end of our time, but the concept of empathy, relationships, and emotion and telling story, it's something people talk about a lot. It's not unique to you and I. However, when I think about your books, The Better Message and the Message and The Future of Messaging, one of the things that's so valuable is your experience in the world of marketing and advertising, because you didn't just graduate from Wilhurst College in, Manchester, wherever. You actually have the experience and the knowledge. So tell us a little bit about how people can connect with you and the kinds of things, like, are you preparing any workshops or webinars? What can people look forward to if they work with you?
Well, I'll go into this book. I want to point out one thing. Let's see. This is, in every chapter, you will find a QR code. So it's not just reading this and using this. This is more of a textbook than anything, as is volume 2. This was designed for universities, for business schools, communication management classes, because I would teach at Northeastern University. I did some adjunct professoring at Boston College years ago. And so I have experience in that field. But rather than just have this book, now you hit the QR code, it goes to it's not my website, but it will go to a workshop that's linked in with this book. So now Socratically, I can ask you questions, and you can listen to ads, great award-winning ads that are on YouTube that have been played, going back to 1964, the famous Daisy commercial Tony Schwartz did for Lyndon Johnson when he's going up against Barry Goldwater. This ad ran one time, and it was essential to his victory in that election. So things like that, what made this ad? And it becomes a mini class in itself, just with the workshops. So and I'm going to put them in the volume 2 as well, and design those so people can come in. I'm hoping to develop a marketing funnel so people can work through there. This is going to take a while in order to get this.
People can connect with you on LinkedIn.
You can connect me on LinkedIn, Michael Coleman, Coleman. My business is Cold Cuts Sound, Colecuts. People say, what are you making? What are you making, bologna and cheese sandwiches? No, this Cold Cuts. It play off the name Coleman. I would cut a spot. So it's a little difficult sometimes when people go in. Colecuts.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram as well. And,
so everyone, Michael, certainly available to work with you or your small business. if you connect with him on LinkedIn. And his new book will be coming out in late summer, maybe early fall. We'll have all that information on LinkedIn. This has been really fascinating, Michael, because people are not talking about the way we use words. I talk about it a little bit, but just in this conversation, you have actually spoken and used words that hardly anyone else ever used. They're words that you and I learned when we were growing up in school, because you had to learn to write well and read well back then. And I'm not saying people don't do it today. I'm just saying it was different. It was different when I was a kid and when you were a kid. So we're going to end with one last thing, and I would like you to give us like 3 things that an entrepreneur can do to enhance their marketing this summer.
3 things. Number 1, the truth. I want to know the truth. I'm a good father. I'm probably the best father out there. How would you know? Well, I just told you. What does that do? Politicians do that every day. They say how great they are. You know, I use the best words. I do this and that. So the only way you're going to know I'm a good father is by meeting my sons, right? And seeing how they act. Now, this is where people go out and look. We're a skeptical society. Every day we judge. Like I said before, people judge. They make, because if you come in and say, well, I guess the truth ain't working because the guy next door, my competition, is saying this or that, is saying this or that. So now I have to play his game. No, you don't. You don't. You think that people think that this is a sprint, is a 50-yard dash. This is a marathon. This are you going to end your business 10 seconds from now? Are you going to end it 2.5 hours, 3 hours when the marathon? No. Do you plan on selling your business in 5 years? Or do you plan on keeping that name? This is your brand. And when I say the word brand, by the way, I don't mean corporation. I am a brand, just me, whether I had a business or not.
Right, yeah.
My brand is when I walk down and I meet people, shake their hands, hello, you smile, nice to meet you. And will people be attracted to that brand? You know, we bring in the corporate world into our individuality, but that's really what people are. When I see people and down the street, there's a lot of that because, again, you know, our heads are in our phones all the day. You know, we're letting this control us. It's okay. We can get through the woods without a compass. It's right here. It's the gray matter is going to help us out. So that's really, it's truth. It really, I'd say, it may be 1, 2, or 3. All of it is truth, because eventually I'm going to find out the truth with you. I'm going to go to your website. I'm going to go meet you in person, or I'm going to call you up. I'm going to see you. And I want to see what you have to offer me. And truth, truth, truth. Cool.
Be truthful. Learn empathy. Learn relationship building. All the things that are really, really important, folks. And Michael has a unique view on those and how to do them. So get his book, A Better Message in a Message. It's on Amazon. And we'll be talking about his next book, The Future of Messaging, over on LinkedIn quite a bit. So join us over there. And Michael, I can't thank you enough. This has been a really great conversation. Thank you for being my guest.
Enjoyed it immensely. All the best to you. Thank you.
This is Yvonne DeVita from Master Book Builders, and this was another Smart Conversation.